This is Live 5 News.
If Biden wins, he will do bad things.
I'll work as hard for those who don't support me as those who do. That's the job of a president.
With just 6 days until Election Day, President Trump and Joe Biden making their final push for support. How many people in South Carolina have already voted, and the new warning on possible election interference?
And Hurricane Zeta slamming southern Louisiana, now heading on into the southeast. More on that, the impacts here, and what we can expect for a much cooler weekend. All live right now, new at 7.
And preparing your kids for kindergarten, the resources that are now available to help your kids succeed during the pandemic. The city of Charleston has gotten a grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD.
Our Nick Reagan is taking a closer look at that money. And Nick, this grant is aimed at giving people help related to COVID.
The Community Development Block Grant is worth about $1.1 million. About a quarter of that is aimed at direct relief efforts. The city would like to give $245,000 to local nonprofits to help people pay things like rent, mortgages, and bills. The rest of it, about $900,000, would be then used to buy property that can be turned into affordable housing to help those who may be experiencing homelessness. Gianna Shaw Johnson is the director of the city's Housing and Community Development Department, and she says they have 3 years to spend the money, so they want to address both short-term and long-term needs.
We want to be able to provide a long-term and sustained strategy with the funding that we receive, and we're hoping that this is that pot of funding that will enable us to do that.
Now, that could include building buildings like this one, the 180 Place facility. This is actually the second round of this grant that they've gotten. About $500,000 was allocated back in April. That helped about 136 households. Reporting in Charleston, Nick Reagan, Live 5 News.
Some South Carolina lawmakers are now calling for an emergency legislative session as COVID-19 cases across the state continue to rise. Our Rob Way spoke with State Representative Wendell Gilliard, who's leading the effort, about what he's hoping to accomplish.
Mr. Kempson, aye.
State lawmakers aren't set to be back in session until January, but with COVID-19 cases on the rise across the state, some legislators, including State Representative Wendell Gilliard, say an emergency session needs to be called now.
We as leaders, we must first understand one thing. We're losing the battle. They want to wish it away. You know, they want to say, oh, we have, as far as a cure, round the corner. You know, we're not rounding any corner. The only thing that's coming around the corner is, funeral processions. That's the only thing. People are dying.
In a letter to Governor Henry McMaster, Gilliard writes that all signs signal a drastic increase of transmission and infection, and that he respectfully asks the governor to encourage whomever it would require to call lawmakers back to the State House.
When you look at things like homelessness, people losing their health care, people still being evicted regardless, okay? When we get these types of stories, we have to take action, okay? So that's why I feel that we need to go ahead and meet and put our minds together and find out in those areas how best now should we approach these situations.
Gilliard did not rule out supporting possible closures and restrictions to help curb the spread of the virus, something Senator Sandy Senn says shouldn't happen.
If the representative truly believes that we are getting worse and not better with respect to coronavirus, then the state of emergency is where we need to be, with one person listening to the experts and calling the shots. But what really worries me is it sounds to me like he's wanting to shut down the economy again. And I would be absolutely opposed to that.
The governor's office has yet to respond to my request for comment, but Gilliard tells me the Speaker of the House has received the letter and plans to talk to the governor about it. For Live 5 News, I'm Rob Way.
The amount of COVID-19 tests that are positive in South Carolina is going up. The state health department says more than 15% of all coronavirus tests done yesterday came back positive. That is the highest it's been in almost a month. The average amount of positive tests in the last 30 days, about 11%. The total since the pandemic began, about 14. Almost 2 million tests have been given since mid-March. The United States has recorded its worst week since the pandemic started, adding 500,000 new cases. On average, about 805 people are dying every day, up from 714 just 2 weeks ago.
Testing may be identifying some more cases. I think that's clearly true. But what we're seeing is a real increase in the numbers.
A member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force says the nation is at another critical point, urging everyone to keep wearing masks and social distancing.
This is not a drill. We've had many of them. It's not a drill.
Right now, Louisiana feeling the impacts of Hurricane Zeta. I want to show you a live look into New Orleans right now. The storm made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane just within the past few hours. It's the 5th named storm to hit the state of Louisiana just so far this year. Chief Meteorologist Bill Walsh has been tracking the storm since the beginning. Are we going to feel any effects from the storm?
We're going to get some rain tomorrow night and maybe a line of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, late afternoon, evening into early nighttime. We're certainly going to keep an eye on that. There's the satellite. Here's the storm now down to 105, made landfall as a 110-mile-an-hour Category 2 storm. The forecast track does take it very quickly to the northeast. It will stay into western South Carolina. The interesting thing is there are actually tropical storm warnings in effect for Greenville, Spartanburg, all the way back just down north of Atlanta. So it's a real nasty storm. It's a fast mover. You can see where it is right now. That's the center of the storm just to the south or almost over the city of New Orleans. As we zoom on in, that's New Orleans right there. That's Slidell, and our pal Randy Houle is on the phone, retired Air Force meteorologist. Randy, how are the winds there right now?
Hi, Bill. As you indicated just a minute ago, we're coming to you basically live in Tanglewood Village subdivision here in beautiful Slidell, Louisiana. And the winds, as you indicated here a minute ago, the indicative of the wind speeds coming down on the storm. We've had some higher gusts in the last few minutes, and we had a brief lull. And as is typical with these storms, now we're getting a resurgence here and a new round of gusts and some heavier rain as the eye wall is making its way around right over my house.
All right, well, it looks like the outer eye wall is now moving over you, and it looks like the center, the eye of the storm, is going to be there very, very shortly. So we'll keep you posted. Thank you so much, Randy, for that insight, and more on our cool down, which is coming up right here in just a few minutes. Wait till you see that.
This is Live 5 News.
More than 1 million people have already cast their ballots for this election.
That's almost double the number of absentee ballots returned in the last presidential election back in 2016. More than 60% of the absentee ballots cast so far were in person. That number also doubled from the 2016 election.
More people are registered to vote as well, about 350,000 more than 4 years ago. Now, for those mail-in ballots, the state has recommended today as the latest by mail that you can mail those in, but you'll still be able to return that ballot in person by Friday. Any registered voter can vote absentee in person by next Monday, one day before the election. All county election officials will hold in-person voting hours this Saturday. To find a voting location near you, head over to live5news.com and look under the big red box.
Now, if you have mailed in your absentee ballot, you can track it if you'd like. There's a link on the South Carolina Election Commission's website. You'll just need to put in some of your information to check its status. You'll also find this link on our website.
Now, 6 days to go now until Election Day. National security officials expecting election interference efforts to increase.
Now, they're warning everyone to be careful, be cautious about what you read online.
This is the prime opportunity for any adversary, whether it's Russia, whether it's Iran, or it's a cyber actor.
Hackers temporarily took over President Trump's campaign website last night and showed a message falsely claiming he was responsible for the coronavirus.
Government officials say it was an attempt to undermine the confidence in the voting process. A Trump campaign official says no data has been stolen from its website. Again, Election Day is next Tuesday. Live 5 will have crews spread all across the state of South Carolina, giving you updates from when the polls open to when the last voter has cast their ballot. Make sure to tune in to our Election Day team coverage only here on Live 5 News.
And the weather on Tuesday is going to be beautiful. Sunshine, cool, actually chilly, especially in the morning. It might be even in the 40s. How about that? All right, right now, pretty quiet out there. First alert, Super Doppler Max, looking very good up and down the South Carolina coast. Next couple of hours, we're going to stay with temperatures that are going to be pretty comfortable. As a matter of fact, not going to see a lot of drop-off in temperatures. If we look at a live picture from high atop of MUSC, 8 o'clock 75, 74 at 9, and then we'll level off in the low 70s really from 10 o'clock during the overnight hours right into the morning. You may see some low 70s back inland, but again, we're going to be talking about a mild night tonight from Moncks Corner back to Mount Pleasant down to Folly Beach. It certainly will be on the mild, comfortable side as you wake up tomorrow morning. Coming up new for us in a few more minutes, how much cooler for the weekend? We'll talk more about that and your what to wear forecast. So stick around.
According to state education leaders, more than half of South Carolina's kindergarten students aren't actually ready when they start school.
Education groups are hoping to change that by getting parents more involved in early childhood education and doing more at home. Our Jason Raven has more details.
Deficiencies, Trace scored very well.
Jamaica Young says when her son started kindergarten, he was ready.
But he didn't have a perfect score. But so I took it upon myself to kind of see, well, what was he deficient in, and try to reinforce and reiterate those areas to kind of close that window or that achievement gap.
Young did everything she could to prepare him, pre-K programs, tutors, lessons at home. She wanted to make sure her son could hit the ground running.
We read to him every night. And so once we read something to him, we kind of check for comprehension to see if he understood what we were reading or what we just reading. Did he like the sound of our voice?
The reality is most students aren't ready for kindergarten in South Carolina. According to readiness assessment data shared with us by the State Department of Education, less than 40% of students can handle the kindergarten curriculum on day one. That's why the Carolina Family Engagement Center at the University of South Carolina's College of Education is working to take a proactive approach by engaging parents.
It's really about the process of learning, the process of reasoning, solving problems, being able to relate to others. All of those things are things that are just going to continue to support a child as they're trying to acquire knowledge and information as they go through school.
They say parents are a child's first teacher and hope that through some new resources they can help flip the script. Wednesday, they unveiled 6 new booklets that help caretakers teach things like numbers, emotional development, and problem solving.
I think sometimes parents may not realize what an important impact they have on their children's growth and development and the relative success of that. And even if they do know, they may not know all of the kinds of things that they can do to be effective in supporting that growth and development.
The center says the guides are available for download online, but they will also be distributing these at schools, doctors' offices, local barbershops, just about anywhere in the hopes of reaching families who may not have access to the internet. Young says getting your child ready for kindergarten is a lot of work, but you can't stop there, especially with the pandemic. According to the State Department of Education, there were more than 56,000 public school students enrolled in kindergarten across the state last year. In Columbia, I'm Jason Raven.
The Carolina Family Engagement Center is one of 12 centers just like it all across the country.
The state has also launched a new program to support students who may be having trouble adjusting to changes because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's called Engage South Carolina, and it'll give students K through 12 a personal coach to help them develop plans for success. They'll also be able to track your child's progress throughout the school year.
All schools are able to opt into the program for free.
For more information and for anyone looking for additional help for their kids, just go to live5news.com and check under the big red box.
Still ahead on Live 5 News, local attorneys handling claims against the national organization, the looming deadline for people to come forward against the Boy Scouts of America.